Okay, welcome back, my YouTubers. So, what we're working on right now is we're currently working on percent change. And a percent change is an equation that you can go ahead and find by finding the numerator, which is the amount of change, divided by the denominator, which is the original amount, and then you're going to multiply it by 100%, or you're going to multiply it by 100. So let's get an example, and then after this example, you guys can do another one on your own, and then you guys can check your answer. So for this percent change, we're going to say from $100 to $160. And this is going to be a change of $60. So we want to figure out if you're starting from $100 and you're going up to $160, what the percent change is, not the money change. So the amount of change is the difference between $100 and $160. So what we're going to do is we're going to subtract 160 and 100, and we're going to take away that $100 from the $160. And that's going to be our amount of change. That's going to be the money that we changed when we started from $100 and we went up to $160. So $160 minus $100 is a total of $60 changed. Well, the original amount, this is the amount that you start from. And here's a key word, from. Whatever this amount from is, that's going to be our original amount. So if we start from $100, the original amount is going to be $100 here. So we already found out that 160 take away $100, this is an amount of change of $60. And if we divide $60 by $100 as a fraction, this is going to be one part of our percent change. But we still need to go ahead and multiply by 100%. So let's reduce our fraction then. Because if we can reduce our fraction, we can actually go ahead and get the same decimal, but we're just making the numbers a little smaller. See, because $60 divided by $100 can be reduced by $20. And that will give you 3 over 5. Now this $3 over $5 is equal to $60 over $100. These two fractions are actually equal. They're the same amount. So what we can do now is we can actually divide 3 by 5. So here's what we're going to actually do. We're going to divide 3 by 5. It would be the same thing as dividing $60 by $100. You see, both of these amounts will give you exactly the same amount because these two are equal to each other. We just reduced 60 and 100 by $20. So let's see here. 5 doesn't go into 30 or 3, so I'll go ahead and put a 0 there. So since 5 doesn't go into 3, I have to put 0. Well, 100 doesn't go into 60, so I'd still have to put 0 there. Well, let me add my decimal here, and now this turns into 3 with the 0 behind it. Well, I treat this like 30 now. So 5 goes into 30 6 times. 6 times 5 is exactly 30 without a remainder. So I'm going to get 6/10. But I just wanted to show you that you'd still get 6/10 even if you divided 60 by 100. You see, 100 doesn't go into 60, so I put my 0 there. Well, now I'm going to add my decimal here and a decimal behind the 60. 600, though, it does get divided by 100 6 times perfectly. 6 times 100 is exactly 600. They equal the same decimal. 6/10 is still equal to 6/10. So even if you didn't reduce this fraction, you'd still get 6/10 here. And 6/10 times 100%, okay, gives you a 60% increase. 6/10 times 100, this decimal would move 2 times to the right, and our decimal is actually right here behind the 60. And this is going to be a 60% increase if you start at $100 and you go up to $160. But see, a lot of people are going to think, well, $60, 60%. Okay, I get it. I'll just take away these numbers, and whatever I subtract, this money is equal to the percent. No, this is a very special case, and that's why I wanted to do this example for you. This is an example where the denominator happens to be 100. See, but what you have to remember is what we've learned about percentages. Anything divided by 100, that numerator is the percent. So even if I put 5 over 100, well, 5 over 100 equals 5%. You see, any numerator divided by 100, that's the percent right away. So this is a very special example of where the numerator happens to have a denominator of 100. And when the denominator is 100, you're going to get this percent and this money are actually the same. But this isn't always going to happen. So what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to copy down the next example. And when you copy down the next example, I want you to pause the video, take out a scratch piece of paper, and then try to answer it on your own using this equation here. Because this time, the denominator won't be 100 anymore. So what happens if I were to go ahead and if I just change this problem just a little bit? So here's the new problem here. What if I said, okay, let's start from $160 and let's actually go down to $100 instead. Some people might think, okay, well, it was a 60% increase. Well, it must be a 60% decrease now. You're just going down $60, and in the last problem, I went up $60 and I went up 60%. But that's not going to be the case this time. So what I want you to do is, I want you to pause the video right now, and I want you guys to use this equation here to find what your percent decrease will be, because these answers won't stay the same. I'll let you guys pause the video and start from $160. So that will be your original amount. I'll wait for you guys to pause the video and then go ahead and unpause the video and check your answer to see if you got the new percent decrease. Pause the video right now, guys. I'll wait for you. Okay, guys, so I know you probably unpaused the video now and you're probably going to check your work with me. So this percent won't actually be the percent decrease anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to erase the things that we had before, because our numbers won't exactly stay the same. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'm going to go ahead and write some new numbers here, just so you guys can go ahead and catch up with me. All right? So let's take a look at what this problem said. It said from $160 to $100. Well, the equation is not going to change. That is going to stay the same. But the numbers won't exactly stay the same. You see, even though we still want to take $160 and subtract $100, this is an amount change of $60 going down. It's decreasing. The original amount doesn't stay $100. Now you started from $160. So this is going to change your fraction. Now you're going to get $60 here, and the denominator is now $160. Well, I can go ahead and reduce these fractions, numerator and denominators, still by 20. So 60 divided by 20, hopefully you got 3. And 160 divided by 20, hopefully you got 8. So your new fraction is 3 over 8. Well, now I'm going to go ahead and divide my numerator by my denominator. And don't forget, you could divide 60 by 160. I just like using smaller numbers because these two fractions are equal. These numbers are smaller, and I'm going to still get the same decimal. It's just going to make my answer a little bit easier to get because I'm using smaller numbers. So let's see. 8 doesn't go into 3, so I'll put a 0 here. Now I'm going to add a decimal behind my 3 because 3 and 0/10 is the same as 3. And I'm going to treat this 3 like it's 30 now. Well, 8 definitely goes into 30 at least 3 times. So 3 times 8 is 24. I'll put my 6 right here. And here's the thing about adding these zeros. Your teachers might not have told you why you're allowed to add zeros behind the decimal. But 3 is the same as 3 and 0/10, and 3 is the same as 3 and 0/100. So I'm just adding these zeros behind the decimal, but it's still 3. 8 goes into 60 now, a total of 7 times. And now I'm going to get 56 here. Well, this is going to give you a 4. And again, you're allowed to add as many zeros behind the decimal as you want. Because 3 and 0/1000ths is still the same as 3. Well, let's see here. 8 goes perfectly into 40 5 times. And there's not going to be any more remainder because 8 times 5 is exactly 40, and the remainder will be 0. So you're going to get 375 thousandths. This is the exact decimal that 3/8 is equal to. So I'll put 375 thousandths times 100%. Well, now we have to multiply this decimal by 100%. So what you should get is you should get a 37 5/10% decrease. And hopefully you checked your answer with me, and this is what you're getting when you went and started from $160 and you went down to $100. Hopefully you guys got a 37 5/10% decrease. Now there's other ways to do this problem, but this is the way we've been studying in class. And of course, this is definitely going to be on your poster that's due this week, and it's definitely going to be on your unit exam. And this topic is called percent change. Well, you definitely probably know I'm going to probably make a YouTube homework from this using Schoology later on too. You guys take care, and I'll see you guys next time, my YouTubers. Okay, Ms. Kiabu, Mr. Gonzalez, say goodbye for now.